Hi, I'm Margaret, and welcome to Garden School. Well, today I came out to the woods because I wanted to talk about red alder. That is Alnus rubra. Now, this is a deciduous tree that's very abundant in the Pacific Northwest. In fact, the range goes from Southeast Alaska even to Southern California. And red alders can grow like 40 to 80 feet tall. They will be perhaps the first tree species to really show itself in a clear cut or in a clearing. That's a really good. Now the trees are deciduous, and one thing that I was wondering about is their pollen. They seem to give off a lot of pollen in the early spring, and they cause a lot of people trouble. And I was wondering, my eyes were kind of itchy the past week, could the alders be blooming already? Well, let's take a look and see what we can find. So out on the end of the branches at the tops of these trees, you will find the male structures, which are called catkins, and they contain the pollen. Now you can see a little bit of kind of a yellowy green here. This is just probably very beginning to disperse some pollen, but when it is in full bloom, they are chartreuse, and you go out in the morning and figure out what has fallen on my car to turn it this yellow-green color. That's pollen from a red alder. Now, later in the year, the tree will form these strobiles, these little cones, and they are dark brown, less than an inch long. Oh, by the way, the catkins can get like 3 to maybe even 4 inches long. They can get pretty lengthy, but they look beautiful until you realize, all of that pollen. So the strobiles, the little cones, they are hard and they will persist on the tree through the winter. So if you go out now, you'll certainly find a lot of these here before the spring's really started. And you'll find a few of the catkins starting already. Red alder is an important tree in the ecosystem of the Pacific Northwest for a couple of reasons. It is a lumber wood, so furniture, other things are made out of red alder. But also the roots have little nodules which contain nitrogen-fixing bacteria. So that actually is helping nitrogen be fixed into a form that can be utilized by other plants. So it's really an all-around great tree. It's deciduous, so you have some nice shade in the hot summertime. You have some open area in the wintertime. And they also seem to like to grow in kind of a moist area. Here's an alder that has just fallen over in a winter storm. And you can see where the bark has been rubbed away and branches have been broken off. It looks kind of reddish. That is right under the bark in the beginning part of the wood. That is why it's called red alder. So we had a little bit of vocabulary. Rubra, which means red, for Alnus rubra, red alder, and then catkins, those male structures on the tree that produce that pollen, that chartreuse pollen. You're not going to miss it. If you have alders, red alders, you will see the chartreuse pollen on some surface. And then the strobiles, the little cone-like structures, and these would contain the seeds as they mature. later in the year. And these are retained by the tree throughout the winter. Wow. Hope you learned a little bit about red alder, how important they are in our ecosystem in the Pacific Northwest. There's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.